Part 1. The City, the Descent. Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Mary Oliver. Chapter 1. The Deep Masculine. Across the world we can find ruins and remnants of a time when men had to farm, hunt, build, and defend the realm. From Egypt to Machu Picchu to the Lycian ruins in Turkey and the Colosseum in Rome, one can get a sense of the beauty and suffering of life in our distant past. Strength was required. Mastery was necessary, and in those fires the Sun King was forged. Ancient craftsmen brought this energy to work as they chiseled stone, fashioned bows, smelted iron, or hand-hewed timbers. With only manual tools and minimal comforts, they were forced to remain in the moment. Presence was often a matter of life or death. At night or on the hunt, we would tell each other stories beneath forest canopies or celestial vistas. This is how knowledge and wisdom were passed from generation to generation. Myths and stories remind us of what is forgotten, and pierce our psyches with living images that touch the deep wound, the primal core, the mystery. Robert Bly's Iron John, a book about men, introduces us to an ancient legend about what a man is and can be. Bly excavates this rich fairy tale and reveals that for men, true radiant energy does not wait in the feminine realm, nor the macho, but out in the magnetic field of the deep masculine. The Iron John myth begins as many do, with a mysterious force that has taken hold of the kingdom, a dark enchantment. Many have gone to the forest edge and have yet to return. A hero who is not from the kingdom arrives and is warned about the situation. He rides off to the forest with just his dog. The dog comes to the edge of a dark and murky pond. A large, hairy, rusty hand snatches the poor hound, pulling it under. "This must be the spot," says our unnamed hero. Here we encounter the first potent symbol. We've all heard the disparaging comment, "Men are dogs." In this case, it's not the nobility, loyalty, and affection of our canine friends that are referenced, but instead the base elements, the dog that will eat anything and act on impulse. The dog gets pulled under and drowned in the swamp because his horny dog energy is a slave and victim of its primal instincts. It is precisely because society, religion, and most cultures fear the destructive potential of sexuality that so much repression has been thrown its way. Unfortunately, much of what is good, potent, virile, and generative has also been locked away beneath those murky waters. Our hero rides to the kingdom to get more men to empty the pond. They bucket it out. It's work. There are no shortcuts, and here's the second significant message and call to action. Plant medicines may help, retreats and all the rest, but there's no magic pill, and the transformation we are after is not immediate. It's not a quantum healing moment. It's painstaking. At the bottom of the pond, they discover a large, hairy, wild man, Iron John. They capture him and lock him up in an iron cage in the courtyard. One day, the king's son is playing in the courtyard and his golden ball rolls into Iron John's cage. And so, our story begins. Separation. This book will examine the myth and relate it to the Sun King's transformative process. The Sun King does the work, He has realized that his wound and the wound of all men is his path to deep knowledge, healthy relationships, wisdom, purpose, and unique genius. The sun represents the pinnacle, the eye of the pyramid. Its rays suggest wholeness and wisdom that has transcended grief and befriended the shadow. The archetype of the Sun King embodies the culmination and integration of various aspects of the whole or integrated man: lover, warrior, magician, father, artist, businessman, and more. The man who has bucketed out his murky waters and stood face to face with what he finds: his virile, potent, and mysterious core, and his shadow. Why have we been separated from these life-vivifying energies? Why has the primal being been submerged in mud and red clay? As we will see, for our boy to get his ball back, he must separate from his mother and father, from the known and the safety of his conditioning, identity, culture, and village. He must free Iron John, the wild man, and follow him to discover his true purpose. There is a difference between the life-vivifying energies of the wild man, who respects nature, women, art, beauty, and truth, and the destructive impulses of the savage. To access this energy, a man must embark on a heroic journey of integration. This path is not one of conquest but of reconciliation, where the wild and the refined, the primal and the transcendent, come into harmony. Every person who embarks on a path of self-actualization must balance a sense of acceptance with a will to transcend. Two voices must be reconciled. I am enough, and I am just a fraction of my potential. For a man to reclaim what has been lost, he must walk the path of those who came before. The wild man awakens a man's power, but without wisdom, power is nothing. This is where the elders come in. Mentors and elders. Iron John leads the boy to his destiny. In ancient times, tribal elders instructed, initiated, and oriented us. In an intact society, the uncle might assume some of the initiation roles, teaching a boy a few things about women or taking him on the hunt. The grandparents would tell stories, connecting the children to the deep well of lived experience. Older brothers might tease, fight, torture, and even be somewhat cruel, thus helping to whittle away the ego and narcissism inherent in all body minds. This tough love was passed down through generations. The community also helped to enforce integrity and accountability. Men were often taken from the bosom of their mothers in early adolescence, and they would undergo a brutal ritual, an ordeal, a hunt, circumcision, or a psychedelic experience, something that marked their passage from childhood and the protection of the mother and womb into the realm of men. They returned fully and markedly a man, a member of the hunters, the fathers, the grandfathers. This was clear and irreversible for them and the tribe to see. They were no longer boys. They would marry soon after and become fathers and then go off and live a life. Few, if any, would rise to be leaders of the tribe, shamans, wise men, knowers. But there was a clear path for them. They knew what a man was to do and how to dress, how he must provide and contain, because providing was not a luxury. It was not a decision but a necessity. Men were needed. In ancient times, men's paths were clear. In most cases, gender roles were defined. There were exceptions, of course. Some women exhibited exceptional physical traits and may have hunted and fought alongside the men. There were, I'm sure, men who displayed more nurturing characteristics, who would have worked alongside the women. These were exceptions, rare individuals. Usually the tribe's survival depended on men and women doing what they did best. Although women can hunt and men can raise children, biological differences in muscle and bone density and neurological wiring led almost all traditional cultures to have a relatively binary division of labor. This was not the oppression of the patriarchy, but rather due to the harsh realities of survival in a world where killing a woolly mammoth with a spear was all in a day's work. In the last 3,000 years or so, since the advent of monotheism, and specifically since the Industrial Revolution, when men left the home, the field, and the village for grueling jobs and factories, the golden thread of traditional knowledge was cut. This is a great tragedy and disconnection for the male psyche, and for our communities at large. Men's purpose became remote. For the first time, boys grew up without a visceral transmission of wisdom, without a body knowledge of what a man does. The lack of this connection laid the groundwork for the disconnect between fathers and sons, leading to the absence of male mentors in the community, the lack of meaningful initiation rituals in the body and the psyche, and a host of other symptoms and ailments of the modern world, including our lack of trust of men. It was as if drought and storms began to hollow out the great tree. The waters were polluted, and darkness fell over the land. Luckily, these vital energies, like the deep masculine itself, are resourceful, creative, and resilient. From plant medicines to primal movement, ancient wisdom is making a comeback and opening a portal to the feminine realm. Meeting with the goddess. Many young men who wish to shed the toxic male skin first seek refuge in their feminine sides, in compassion, service, emotions, and agreeability. Feminine wisdom is a gatekeeper, but it leads, at least for some men, beyond itself to the realm of masculine wisdom, and deeper still to the great one that is beyond all pairs of opposites. As a young man, I felt an immense sense of male guilt and tried to overcompensate, losing my sense of purpose in service to a relationship. Like a snake that has shed its skin but has not yet regrown a new one, this is an intermediary phase in the heroic journey of the deep masculine. It is the moment of greatest risk, but also a moment of great potential. To grow, the man must first let go of what no longer serves him, even if it means stepping into the unknown. The journey involves entering the wilderness of the psyche, encountering shadows, and finding wisdom through trial and initiation. Many who have the courage and consistency to bucket out their internal swamps will find that after liberating their feminine sides and becoming kinder, more empathetic, receptive, and emotionally aware, after taking yoga classes and exploring detox programs and vegetarian diets, they may still be plagued by restlessness and a fire in the mind, a longing for adventure and challenge, to lift weights, hunt, climb mountains, dig in the soil, learn a martial art, and regain their self-respect. Men who commit to the journey often find that the return involves reconnecting with their own masculine essence. The deep masculine. Through what we may call inner alchemy, the man willing to reconnect with the deep masculine integrates the best aspects of the feminine and masculine sides, as well as the best aspects of the ancient world and modern life. The integrated man has a shadow, but it has been illuminated by bucket work and transcended grief. He is not an idealist per se. He aims towards the light. He faces the challenges of life with positivity and courage. He becomes a shapeshifter, moving flawlessly from emotional awareness to stoic self-discipline. It's not all mystical. Often the message is simple and clear. Sit straight, breathe, be a nice person. Take care of your family. Honor your body and nature. The Sun King is not a relic of the past, nor a rejection of modern ideals. He represents a return to balance, a timeless, grounding energy that men have carried within them since the dawn of humanity. It is the oak's quiet strength, the snake's adaptability, and the sun's clarity. It is the force that turns chaos into order, confusion into purpose, and desire into creation. It's not about going backward, but about including what was lost, as individuals and as a collective, and moving forward to live fully in this moment of history with true respect and equality. A battle worth fighting for. The myths tell us all men must go on a quest to find love, to recover the Grail. Each man can see a great snowy mountain peak signifying his potential. The sun shines, illuminating the icy crags. It is beautiful and remote. He can gaze up and see the mountain from down in the city, where there are many things to do, jobs, women, and distractions. A man may spend a year or his whole life in the chaos of his senses. Or, one day, he may decide to lace up his boots and head out into the unknown to become a Sun King. Like the hero's journey, the path begins with a call, a longing to break free from the constraints of modern life. It demands a descent into the wilderness of the psyche, confrontation with shadows, humility to learn from the trials along the way, and an ascent towards illumination. When the man returns, he is transformed, not as a conqueror but as a steward, a Sun King who radiates strength, wisdom, and purpose. This journey is not easy, nor is it linear. It requires the courage to shed what no longer serves, the patience to endure uncertainty, and the willingness to grow. It asks man to leave behind the brittle armor of dominance and embrace a new skin, one that gleams with the light of authenticity, balance, and clarity. The path of integration. Rituals and practices for the deep masculine. The wild man is instinct, fire, raw energy, unpredictable, untamed, vital. The king is structure, discipline, and self-mastery, focused, thoughtful, wise. The Sun King is the bridge. He brings these forces into alignment. But how does a man integrate these aspects into his daily life? We'll explore these elements more deeply in subsequent chapters, but here's a starting point. 1. Engage in physical mastery. Challenge the body, calisthenics, martial arts, climbing, wrestling, combat sports. Train for power and endurance, not just aesthetics. Feel your body's strength. Walk barefoot, bathe in cold water, practice deliberate discomfort. Remind yourself that your body is a tool, not just a vessel. Work with your hands, chop wood, plant, build, carve, sculpt. Reconnect with primal creation. 2. Balance with stillness and reflection. Daily meditation. Sit in stillness after movement. Train the mind as much as the body. Breath work, pranayama, Wim Hof, box breathing. A controlled breath channels wild energy into focused power. Journaling and reflection. Write down moments of primal energy, rage, desire, aggression, and ask how to use them wisely. Silence and solitude. Regularly spend time alone in nature to listen to the deep masculine within. 3. Test yourself in the world. Adventure and risk. Seek controlled danger, rock climbing, surfing, hunting, freediving, archery, spearfishing, or night walks. Ritualize hardship, fasting, sauna, cold exposure, self-imposed endurance challenges, rucksacking, mountain hikes.